time for FOMO, and I can't believe we're saying it about Dell, but Dell is the FOMO stock today, and for good reason. The stock is, I'm not just gonna tell you what it's doing. It's up 28%. So take that for what you will. You could use tons of analogies to describe it, but I'm just gonna say it's up 28% because that's what it is, and it's really, really impressive. And because of the things they talked about during the post-earnings call, Jenny, it sent kind of ripple effects through the semiconductor world, particularly in two names, which have been recurring guests on this segment, which is AMD and Nvidia. So just when you think that they might have ran out of some momentum, they come back and they pull you back in. Nvidia, $27, AMD, $8, but none of this even really explaining what's going on in Dell, up $27, 28%.
And frankly, amazing, because we previewed this name yesterday. I would preview it with Oliver Rennick on Morning Trade Live, and we were like, well, expectations are pretty low, actually. Revenue expected to drop about 11%, which it did fall year over year. And we saw also adjusted earnings expected to fall. I mean, I will say, as far as the expectations goes, I was like, nothing really that stands out as far as growth. And boy, did they prove us wrong, because, hey, making a nice move to the upside today, pacing for its best day on record and pacing to close out at a new all-time high. Now, what is so amazing about their earnings, like you said, it also does give a lot of power and boost to some of these AI-related names that are, of course, exposed to these servers, being Nvidia and AMD, just in case Nvidia and AMD didn't need enough of a reason to rally. But Nvidia here up about 3.3% in real time, of course, dwarfed to Dell's nice move higher, but very different sized companies. Overall, we do see this Nvidia sizzle from the Dell call, which is so interesting to me. The fact that we're able to see these traditional server CPUs picking up help, support, and then adding to an AMD's margins, I do find very fascinating this data center segment, which has been the standout of Nvidia's growth in particular. But we do know that there could also be players that also benefit from Dell's commentary around servers, like a name like Intel, for example, which does operate more in the PC world. But it just has been so fascinating to discuss this PC market. We've called for bottoms 100 times. We keep saying we finally hit the end of the weakness. We could see a recovery. But then there's other companies that came out this week, Alex, and sort of negated that. I mean, HP Inc. was one that somewhat disappointed as far as calling for this bottom in PC and overall just devices. So I think that Dell's results showing that they're actually continuing to pay forward and paving forward in the right space, because this AI server demand has become now the most bullish catalyst for the stock here, instead of them being so tied to their PC identity, which I think is frankly amazing.
With that being said, though, it might explain why, although PC sales were weak, they had something else to offset it. These other companies maybe don't have that. And they talked about the call on those AI servers, how they kind of split the chips amongst AMD and Nvidia chips. All that makes sense, but there's nothing here that says, hey, the PC sales have bottoms. And so that's that same trend and same concerns, they're still there. It's just they somehow got on the AMD and Nvidia ship. And what I'm fascinated by, Jenny, is I was looking at the charts. If you went back to March of 2020, I think that's a good spot to kind of look at, kind of recent lows in terms of the bottom of COVID, peak fear. AMD was about $40 a share. It's now $200. So it's gone about 5x, right? Dell was $12 a share. It's gone 10x. So Dell's a better performer than the ultra growth stock of AMD over that time period. That's fascinating to me.
That is fascinating to me. And again, I first saw Dell. I mean, I know we've actually seen them have pretty strong earnings in the last several quarters. That hasn't been necessarily a brand new narrative, but I did triple check. I was about to restart my platform because I was like, no way are shares up 205% year over year. But they are. And I think that just shows a story in which a company has been able to reshape and sort of re-identify itself, because they have been seen, to me at least, as the old school PC makers. I think we had a Dell computer in my house in 2003 that the family shared, remember? You'd dial up to the internet. That's my affiliation with Dell. Today we're seeing a Dell of a new age, a Dell that is going to help see the improving supply of the H100 chips from Nvidia. It's going to help some of AMD's M3 300X chips, and it's going to be in this new generation of AI processing. And we've talked a lot about are we trading on the fact that the AI is here and this is the actual value of it, or are we trading on the expectation for it, which is where you run into bubbles? I mean, you can't trade on the expectation that isn't actually the reality. That's a whole different conversation, because I will say what is amazing about Dell, demand for its products are there. And I think that's the grand takeaway of their earnings.
Yeah, so there's a couple things. Let's start with just the idea of Dell. I mean, corporate America still uses computers, still uses laptops, still uses desktops, but the everyday person, for the most part, unless they're working from home, I think gets the most out of their cell phone now, primarily uses a smartphone or maybe even a tablet, depending on what they're doing. I can't remember the last time I logged on a computer non-work related at home. And so that's part of the reason why there's less demand for the devices. But when you start thinking about this AI and the impact, look, we talked about it yesterday. I think that there's going to be cool impacts of AI. I think it's a real thing. I don't know that it's monetizable yet. I don't know that all this R&D is for any good, other than if somebody else figures it out first, it could be catastrophic to your business if you're one of these mega cap companies. But the companies like Dell and of course AMD and Nvidia and the others that are sort of, as they've been saying, the picks and the shovels of the process, the mining's taking place, the exploration's taking place. They need the picks and shovels now. They're actually being sold. So who knows if these are all processes that are abandoned in 2 or 3 years or months. But for now, if you're Dell, if you're AMD, if you're Nvidia, and the list is not limited to them, SMCI, you're really selling these products and you're really getting that money. Who knows if from Microsoft or Alphabet or Apple, whoever is spending the money, if they're actually going to get a return on that investment, but they've invested the money, and the Nvidias of the world and the Dells of the world have pocketed it.
I completely agree. It's very clear to see the benefit of AI. I mean, these are actual products being sold. They're already made. They already have these variations of these chips. I mean, this already exists. So that's huge for the fact that you're not trading on the idea or the concept or the forward-looking hope. You're trading on their actual products that right now they cannot keep in supply because there's such high demand. So I really think it's amazing that Dell has been able to revive itself like this, and not even revive, just continue to reinvent itself, because it hasn't even really had any weak spots. But overall, they did see, revenue did drop still, was expected. It's really difficult to discuss anything other than the AI servers, and that's all the analyst commentary. Tons of price target raises today, tons of bullish commentary where everyone's saying right now in the 2-horse race of AMD versus Nvidia, now suddenly Dell looks more compelling. I cannot believe.
But those situations, Dell is doing something different than AMD. They're using AMD and Nvidia products within their products, so they can move together. And so this is important. We're watching this broadening out process of it. But at some point, I hate to keep saying this, we're assuming that this is going to happen into perpetuity. And for that to happen, for this investment to continue and maybe even go parabolic like these stocks have, the companies that are investing those dollars are either going to have to sell a lot of their other core products and not worry that they're wasting money, or they're going to have a return on that. And a bunch of $20 chatbots online, I just don't see how that's going to offset the $24 billion that Nvidia has sold in chips.
Well, then again, those are large language models, though. So those are a different side of AI that necessarily isn't entirely like the GPUs and CPUs have use outside of just LLMs. But I get what you're saying. I mean, that market will eventually be saturated. But yeah, Dell has frankly been, I would say, the way in which you're able to still grow at a healthy clip while also not entirely sacrificing your profits has also been commendable. But as far as trading this name, Alex, difficult. We're at Uncharted territory pretty much today. I mean, significant green candle to the upside, closing out a week where we've gained, at this point over 30%.